All right. Check, check. We're good. Good morning, everybody. Happy Home Day. Happy Wednesday, May the 20th, 2020. 5/20, 2020, 2020, 2020, 2020. So it's great to have you with us. I hope you're doing well. Hope the week's going well. You're halfway through. Give yourselves a round of applause here. We'll just have folks join in. And we've made it, guys. Hey, look at that. The crowd goes wild. Take a bow. Take a bow. Susie, good morning to you. Take a bow there, dear. We've made it halfway through the week. All is well. It's a beautiful day out there. Crisp and cool this morning, but blue skies, lots of sun. It is gorgeous in central Connecticut this fine day. You are listening to, if you're listening via podcast on demand, through multiple venues, whichever you may have chosen, or if you're watching live on Facebook, you're participating in, you're part of. That's right, you have been absorbed, embraced, that's a good word, by the Pondering podcast and radio program, a show where we ponder things, we think them through, we don't just take the sound bites and swallow them whole, and then we talk about them, and there are no holds barred in this show. We just come at it, at least your host does, from an unabashedly, unashamedly, and yes, even unapologetically Christian perspective. We do this Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is a joy. We are so thankful. If you want to participate, type into the live stream on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook, or you can email us. PonderingRadio@gmail.com is the email address. Or you can even call us, which Tom Hanson will be doing here in a couple minutes. That number is 860-500-7163. Good morning to Sarah. Good morning to Ed. I think we said good morning to Susie. Yes, she's got the camel posted up there. Hope day. I miss those commercials. Those were kind of fun. So I hope you guys are well, doing well. Saddened by the passing of Ravi Zacharias yesterday. Most of you, I'm sure, have heard about that and seen some posts about it. We made chat with Tom Hanson, our official news editor and historian today. But yeah, I look at Ravi and those several men who have passed recently, Billy Graham being another one, and I feel like it's a passing not just of certain individuals who have blessed the world with the message of the gospel, and in the case of Ravi being one of the greatest apologists of the 20th century and 21st, being able to defend the faith with facts, with logic, with history, as opposed to just emotion. I think that very few people could top Ravi Zacharias. We're missing these guys, not just because of their individual contributions, but because their ilk, their breed of Christian is, I think, lacking right now. All right, let's see if we can get Tom on here. Good morning, Dr. Hanson. Is that you? Well, no, it's all good. I was going to talk to you about him anyway. I actually reposted your comments from Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, on Ravi, which I thought were wonderful and right on point. I was just saying, we mourn his passing, but it's not just his passing. It's the kind of the death of a certain breed of gentlemen that have really forwarded the gospel, defended the gospel in a very unique way. And I don't see too many coming up in the wings, so to speak, that could fill the shoes of men like Ravi Zacharias. And I mentioned Billy Graham, and I'm sure others too. Bill Bright is another one that comes to mind that we've lost. So that saddens me, but that doesn't mean we can't change it. So anyway, I was just commenting on that. It's great to have you, and I know you have a soft spot in your heart for Ravi and his ministry as well. Yep.
From last night that salvation is only in Christ, and freedom. Robbie was also just saying how other religions are. America couldn't have been founded as the land of the free and home of the brave under any other religion other than Christianity.
That's so true.
And just in the image of God. It's just such an exalted state. Our freedoms come from Jesus Christ, not from the government.
That's right.
The government cannot take them away, and they've been trying the last few weeks, and I just sense a real we the people movement.
Yeah.
That people are just not going to be shut up anymore.
Right.
Judges are standing up to governors.
Yeah.
I'm probably drifting off the subject here from Ravi Zacharias, but it was so neat to hear the Vice President of the United States openly in his eulogy to Ravi, he's preaching Jesus
That's
Christ.
right. That's right. What he liked about Ravi wasn't just that he was a smart man or a good man or a good speaker. It was that he preached the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he made that obvious and apparent boldly, which is something we've often missed from our politicians. By the way, just a quick catch up here. Good morning to Sarah and Ed and Brenda and Fred and Leanne, who've all joined us, and you getting some greetings there too from Fred and others as well, Tom. So great to have you guys aboard. We're talking about Ravi Zacharias' passing and just the passing of an era of great spokesmen for Christ, I think. Not that there aren't others that could rise up, but we pray that they will, because right now, in my humble opinion, I don't see a lot of people in the wings that could fill the shoes of some of these men, and Ravi's one of them. Ravi is the kind of guy who I appreciated, because I really feel that way too often, Tom, our faith, the word faith is misrepresented. It's a feeling. It's a random choice with no foundation. It's just it's an opinion. Your faith versus my faith versus the next guy's faith. It's all a personal thing. It has no relevance in terms of any kind of concrete evidence. But the Bible's clear that faith comes from hearing the message. It comes from the Word. It's based on truth. It's not based on conjecture or feelings, emotions. And a guy like Ravi definitely proved that by, historical fact and logic and reason. And I never heard Ravi in a debate or any other situation back down or be put down. He just triumphed for the truth, which, again, I always say our faith is based on truth. It's not just some weird thing that we've decided to believe because our parents did or somebody did. And I really like that about him. But there are other great apologists out there, don't get me wrong, but very few of them do it as eloquently and publicly as Ravi could do it.
An amazing last name from Billy Graham, and Franklin gets out there and is really bold.
Yeah.
The rest of us aren't that famous, but he gets out there and really talks about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
He says what's right, what's wrong, and I wish churches and Christians would get up and just comment on what's going on in the world. There's a lot of bad going on in the world that we need to try and cry about, and not just be closed in and within the church walls. So I really appreciate people who are famous for using. I guess Ravi got to be famous by preaching Jesus Christ. Franklin, inherited the name, and thankfully is bold and courageous. He'll take on things that are going on in the world today. So I long for the day when the church would transform society.
Yeah.
Not vice versa. I mean, it's been I don't know 70 years or 100 years where Christianity was the core of our society.
Well, one of the
Bible. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say one of the reasons we have this show is my reaction to that, Tom, because what I see happening quite often is that Christians feel we have to compartmentalize and keep our faith separate from the rest of our lives because that's what the world tells us to do. And it's like the old Roman government's policy that you could believe what you want. You could maintain your faith if you were a captured people group, under Roman rule. Just don't spread it. And just don't let it replace the government's power and influence in your life. And that is exactly what people are subtly told and come to believe today. And we say on this show, our faith should dictate everything about our life, how we vote, how we speak, what we do. And if it did, we wouldn't worry about talking about politics. And that's what happens now. We say, oh, well, we can't talk about politics. We have to preach the gospel. Well, listen, if I preach the gospel, and the gospel is everything about Jesus and what he taught and said and did, it will affect my political views. It will absolutely affect who I vote for and who I don't vote for, based on policy and principle and truth. But if I separate those, then it makes it possible for me to support people and things and ideas that are directly contradictory, directly the opposite of what Jesus taught. And I see that in New England, where staunch, hardcore Catholic people will vote for people who promote abortion on demand, even post-birth, and think nothing of it because that's political. That's not my faith. Well, you can't separate in reality, and nor should we. And that's a big part of why Pondering exists.
That is so neat. I agree with you. I like it when I hear of Catholic priests denying communion to political figures
Yes.
who promote abortion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, what is so weird is that Ted Kennedy, back in, I think, 1969, staunchly anti-abortion, and at that time said that abortion is killing more people than the Vietnam War.
Right.
But now the pro-abortion lobby is just such a foundation of the Democratic Party that who was it said, I forget who was it, which Democratic leader said there's no room for pro-life people in the Democratic Party. I don't know if that was the head of the Democratic National Committee,
right,
or what. But I have Christian friends who say, anti-abortion Christian friends who say I'm a Democrat. It's like, I don't argue politics. I'm not going to get it.
No, you don't attack them. But here's what I ask people: what is it about the Democratic Party platform right now, especially with the election coming up, that you can support as a Christian? Abortion on demand? No. Open borders in a globalist society, one world order? No, not if you believe prophetically what Revelation talks about. You wouldn't support that. Socialism, as opposed to, a free market and freedom being the underpinning term there? No. There's nothing in the platform you can support as a Bible-believing Christian. Now, maybe, people don't realize that or haven't thought it through, and I grant them that grace, to recognize people don't ponder. They just react emotionally. But if you think it through, there's absolutely nothing in the platform that you can get behind as a Christian and say, yes, I'm in. Now, I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. But can I vote Republican more than Democrat? Yes, because there are many things in, let's take President Trump's platform, that I absolutely believe are biblical and appropriate. So I think we have to think it through, ponder it, etc., and go from there. Even Tom, we're talking about abortion. Even with this COVID-19 crisis, it's ironic, isn't it, that, and I don't believe the numbers because I have evidence that the numbers are greatly inflated. Someone dies that's terminal already, they'll label it a COVID-19 related death, even though the person was already dying and they happen to get COVID-19. They don't report the number of recoveries on the news. They'll show you all these horrible things, and oh my gosh, and there's something with the kids too, and then they'll show one guy being wheeled out of the hospital at the end of the news broadcast saying, well, here's a little bit of good news. Let me give you a lot of good news. 98%, maybe 95% worst case of the people who get COVID-19 are recovering. They don't tell you that, but it's true. But anyway, even if we embrace the 80,000 plus death number that we're using in the United States, for example, that's far less than the number of babies that'll be put to death in abortion clinics this year. So I think people need to put that in perspective as well and grieve it, but at the same time stand against it, vote against it, like you said. No.
Virus. We've gone through umpteen of these different viruses every year, every few years. I just refuse to worry about it. I mean, the worst case scenario, I'm 65, so apparently I'm in
You're at. Are you wearing your mask right now? Maybe I should wear a mask to talk to you through the phone, just in case, you know. Yeah.
Go to our grocery store everywhere without a mask. I
You
mean,
heathen rebel. You Southern rebels are all alike.
Yeah. Well, I think God is working through this.
Oh, yeah.
If I could share these, that Hollywood is shut down. Movie theaters are empty. You know, if you would have said back on March 1st that, in a few weeks, the movie theaters are going to be shut down. Academia is shut down, and I realize they're still preaching their indoctrination over the internet.
Yeah.
Bars are shut down. I sense a real we the people movement that, you know, who wants to be told you can't go out and have your job and support your family?
Right.
Judges are shutting down governors.
Yeah.
And I just think God's working good in this. I do pray for revival in our land, that evil would not be rebuilt. Apparently, it's worse in other countries. I hear from people in the Philippines and in India and in South Africa that it's worse for them than it is here. And we're very blessed to be in this country.
You mean the restrictions are worse because there's more power granted to their leadership, their government?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I could understand that. Today, by the way, we should celebrate. Congratulations, all of you. I hear the crowd goes wild. It is Reopen Connecticut Day. Woo-hoo! God, we need to celebrate that. Launch some confetti. There we go. I think I have a little confetti app here or something. No, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. There's something. No, that's not confetti. That's flowers. But basically, most businesses are allowed to reopen with restriction. Like restaurants can have people come and eat outdoors. I don't know that we've allowed indoor dining yet, although there's still some negotiation going on regarding that. The one negative we talked about on the show yesterday is that at the last minute, Monday morning, the governor changed his mind about hair salons and barbershops. And the sad thing about that is, well, a couple sad things we mentioned. One, these people didn't get any notice. They're all planning to reopen. They've spent money to buy PPE and mark the floor with the 6 feet markers and all that. And set up a schedule and post their hours and all that, only to be told 2 days before, oops, just kidding. And the rationale the governor gave was absurd. Number one, he said, well, we talked to some, shop owners who said they weren't ready. And I'm going, okay, fine. Well, they don't have to open, right? It's not like they're mandating that you will be in business. You're saying that you're not going to mandate that they can't function as a business. That's a very different proposition. But he likes to make these decisions, Tom, and I hate to say this, but it's just a track record he's established. He'll make a decision and then try to pass the buck, that it really wasn't his decision at all. He even tried to say the shutdown wasn't him. It was organic, and it just kind of happened, and that's not what facts show. He, in this case, said, well, the shop owners told me they weren't ready. And then he said, and Rhode Island said they weren't ready. They're not going to do it. Well, since when do we dictate our decisions in Connecticut based on Rhode Island? What about the 48 states that are basically open right now? Can't they dictate our terms? But anyway, other than that, a lot of things are opening, and we should celebrate that. And I think it's about time. And Tom, what I said was, I had an endoscopy the other day and a colonoscopy too. And of course, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing much of anything when they're doing those procedures on me. There's an image you're going to need to wash out of your mind. Lord help us. It's true. And, so if they can do that, to me and with me, well, when I don't have any PPE on whatsoever, then why is it not possible for a barber to have gloves and a mask and a gown, just as the doctor did, and cut my hair, for heaven's sake, and not pass to me or receive from me COVID-19? It's absurd. It's illogical. The only argument they can make is, well, the barber's not trained in how to avoid it. Well, guess what? The doctors aren't trained either, because it's a new deal. It's a different type of virus. So we've already seen that. And if you're wearing the right stuff and caring for it the right way, which you can learn how to do in about 5 minutes, if I can learn to do it, which I have as part of my job, anybody can. There's no reason to shut these people down, but unfortunately they still have, and there's no real set date to reopen. They've given them a possible date of June 6th, I think it was, but they're not committing to that either. So if you're a shop owner, you can't really plan, and you shouldn't spend any more money. You're just in limbo, and that's unfortunate. Anyway, we don't want to run out of time here. What other news items did you have, Tom? I didn't mean to cut into yours. I got going on Ravi, and off we went to the races, you and I.
Upstate Republican women had a primary candidate forum Monday night, which was fun to get to hear from some of the candidates. Lindsey Graham is up for re-election. He's head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he wasn't there, but somebody, a state rep, spoke for him. And it was just kind of neat just to hear these people. Down here, politicians are more likely to openly express their faith.
Yeah.
In fact, if they don't, they're pretty much fried.
It's detrimental to their health if they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we can mix politics and Christianity a whole lot better. So that was been kind of fun. And there was a time in America where presidents did speak about their faith. Grover Cleveland, I'm reading off my website. Grover Cleveland said in his second inaugural address in 1893, above all, I know there is a supreme being who rules in the affairs of men and whose goodness and mercy have always followed the American people. And I know he will not turn from us now if we humbly and reverently seek his powerful aid.
Amen.
It's an open call on obedience to Christ. I've got a similar comment from John Jay in 1776, who was the first Supreme Court justice, that they were in the midst of the Revolutionary War, and he was just talking about how God had blessed the founding of this nation, and we would still be enjoying those blessings if we had not forgotten the source from where these blessings flowed. Even then, he could say, hey, we got to repent.
Yeah.
We've turned away.
Yeah, absolutely. It is refreshing. And by the way, guys, if you haven't checked it out, southcarolinaconservative.com and also the South Carolina Conservative Facebook page that Tom does are just, you talk about informative and interesting reading and things that we should remember and remind our children of in terms of our history in particular in this country. I think it's priceless as a resource. So check it out, southcarolinaconservative.com. By the way, Laura, good morning to you. And Brenda says, news-wise, don't forget Michigan dams are breaking. I saw that this morning as well. Neglected to mention it. She says, please pray for Michigan. Amen. Yeah, there are a lot of people being affected by flooding and damage, and I don't know the numbers, but I did see a quick news flash, and I got up this morning, and it doesn't look good. So. Yeah. So did you have anything else, Tom, before we wrap up? We got another minute or two.
Yeah, just a scripture about, we were talking about faith earlier, Romans 1:19-21, about creation shows us that we're without excuse if we don't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
Creation shows that we really shouldn't be atheists.
Yeah.
And a comment about Hugh Latimer and Mr. Ridley, who were burned at the stake for the Protestant faith, and said, we're going to light a fire in England that can't be put out. We're on the winning side. I mean, you cannot beat Christianity.
Yeah.
And that's real comforting going through each day that we win.
You know, it's funny because we've been, and I don't recommend this series, by the way. I'm into it. I'm into it because of some of the historical value and just the good acting, the drama. But it's called The Last Kingdom, and it's on. I think it's on Netflix. My son had watched the first season. My wife and I got into it a bit. And here's the thing that's so funny: they've gone back through history in England in the 800s AD. And showed the battle between the Danes and the Saxons, you know, the pagans versus the Christians. And as Hollywood is wont to do, they make the Christians out to be idiots or evil people, and their faith doesn't work. When they pray, nothing happens. But the pagans' beliefs, you know, they really do work, and, you know, supernatural things do happen with them. And what's funny about that is so hypocritical the way history is presented to our children, and this series is a classic example of it. But on the one hand, they acknowledge and show the brutality and sexual lasciviousness and crazed violence of the Danes, you know, the pagans, and the weird, you know, bloodlust pagan rituals they take part in. But they still try to make them out as the good guys. And it's so funny. And if you look at the world today, there's no question where most people want to live, whether they're Christian or Muslim or Buddhist, it doesn't matter. They want to live in nations that were historically Christian because those nations tend to have more freedom, more prosperity, more blessing, more a better treatment of women, which were just property in many of these places. So it's so funny to me because on the one hand, they by their feet acknowledge that Christianity is the better way to live. On the other hand, they attack it in every way possible, and it really is a great illustration of that. By the way, Leanne says CNN reported this week that conservatives are, quote, obsessed with freedom. The tone was that that's a bad thing. Yeah. Well, to CNN it is. You know, you're so right, Leanne. How dare we be obsessed with freedom? I'm more and more libertarian as time goes on, Tom, and every time the government gets involved, things get screwed up. We see it here with our government in Connecticut and the imposition of, you know, the shutdown and what's open and what's not, and what's legal and what's not, and when do you have to have a mask or not. But freedom is good because people need to choose. And even with our faith, we don't want people forced to believe Christianity. We want people to choose Christ. And he does too. And you got to have freedom in order to do that. If you don't have freedom in a country, even if you have, you know, conversions, quote unquote, they may not be real. And that was the downside of the Christianized Roman government after 325 AD, you know. You can't force faith. It doesn't work. It's not real. But anyway, I digress. Good comment, Leanne. It's time to wrap up, unfortunately. Man, that went fast. Tom, we're going to have to do this again soon. Well, have a blessed day. Stay safe and healthy down there. God bless your family, and we'll be in touch. Hopefully we can do it again maybe next week. Take care, Tom. That was Tom Hanson, the official news editor and historian. Again, check out SouthCarolinaConservative.com. It's not just a Southern thing. It's an American thing, and you'll get a lot out of his website and his Facebook page. We are plumb out of time, to use a Southern expression of sorts. Bless your heart, Pastor Joel. There's another Southern expression. So we got to wrap up. But we'll be back tomorrow. Don't cry. Don't be sad. We shall return mañana. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard. Tell your friends, neighbors, and even complete strangers. You can't walk up to them right now because you'll scare them. With your mask on and a bullhorn, shout to them, hey, listen to Pondering every weekday morning. And we'll be back tomorrow at 7:30. In the meantime, stay in the Word. Keep praying. Keep pondering. We love you. God bless you. Bye for now.